Hey guys, Sean from the past. If you watched the last video, this was Sean from the future. Um, I realized when I was editing this one that it was way too long, and so I split it into two. This is the second half. If you haven't watched the first half, go back and watch that. If you haven't watched the videos before that, that's kind of the whole point. I'm doing a lap around Cebu Island day by day, just sort of seeing how I go and where I get to. So if you haven't seen the other videos, it's probably worth watching them first, just because it'll give you an idea of where I'm at. Or just watch this one and then go back and watch those afterwards. That's fine too. It's all good. It's totally up to you. We have just come from Carcar City in the last one, and we ended up in Dalaguete. This video, we're going to continue on south, and you will end up going from Dalaguete down into Melba's, which is right at the very south part of Cebu Island. Yeah, let's get into it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Is it too early to ask for that? Anyway, have a look, see what you think. Hope you love it. Bye. So next from there, the plan was, after looking on the maps, was to keep going south. Basically, I was going to get to the very bottom of Cebu Island today, and so it's going to be about 2 or 3 hours riding to get down there. Anyway, the place I was going to stay at was called Melba's, and Melba's was good, but I'll get to that. And in the meantime, I was going to go down to, I think it was Cuartel Ruins or something like that it was called, in Oslo. There's like an old Spanish ruins for a fort or a church or something there. There's actually another old church right next to it, which looks nice as well, which I did have a look around, and took some photos of, but I didn't go inside because it seemed like it was locked up, and I didn't want to try and, push my way in if I'm not supposed to be in there. The ruins were nice. The grassed area around the ruins and the big seawall there was beautiful. The beaches were pristine there. The water was amazing, and it was very nice. Very hot still at this stage. In fact, the whole trip was very hot, but yeah, it was nice. The only issue I had there was riding from there, where I was in Dalaguete, down to these ruins. There was a section of road. I can't remember how long it was. It might have been 10 kilometres. It was not far, but it was far enough that it was probably like 40 minutes worth of riding on it at like 5 kilometres an hour. It's like in Australia, sometimes you'll be driving along and there'll be a pothole. And normally those potholes, they may be like this big, and maybe maybe they're an inch deep. Sometimes if you get a really bad pothole somewhere, you might get one which is, 5 or 10 centimetres deep. But they get fixed pretty quickly in Australia. It's not normally that you get a lot of big, deep ones. Riding in the Philippines, sometimes you get amazingly good roads. It seems like there's always roadworks happening everywhere I've been. So they're clearly fixing them. But sometimes you get sections where there's some potholes and sort of bits which have been sort of fixed, and maybe there's cracks in the road or whatever. And so you've got to be a little careful when you're riding. But this day, wow, it was the worst road I've ever ridden on in the Philippines. Well, that's not completely true. I've since ridden on worse roads, but they were in the process of fixing them, so they kind of like dug the road out. So that was why it was worse. But this was the worst road that wasn't in the process of being fixed, that I've ridden on there. And if you can imagine, like, say 10 kilometres of road where it's just big potholes like this, and some of them are this deep and some of them are this deep, and there's gaps about that big between each pothole, and the entire road is just covered in potholes like that. Some guys were there and they just must know the road perfectly and all the best lines to take over it, because they just would come through and be like, bam, 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 just bouncing through them all and just hammering over it all, and they were flying through it. I was not. I was going along I tried that, and I felt like I was going to rattle myself to death or break the bike in some way, so I tended to slow down and sort of inch my way through it all. Man, it took a while, and my brain inside that helmet was just shaking like, it was like the whole time. It took about, 40 minutes for me to get through that little bit, maybe 30 minutes. I don't know. It felt like forever because I was hot, probably a bit dehydrated, and probably had a bit of a headache already. and my brain just being like shaken around like something that gets shaken around hard. I don't know, I can't even think of it. But my brain was getting shaken. And I needed to stop halfway through and take a rest just to give myself a chance to get over it, because I was getting a massive migraine from it. So I realised as I got to the other end, down to the ruins, that man, I now have to turn around and ride all the way back over that exact same bit again to get my stuff and check out, and then turn around and ride straight back over it all yet again. So I had 2 more runs of over that. And the way back was just as bad. And then the way back down again was probably worse, because now I was carrying, 25 or 30 kilos worth of backpack. So the bike was not handling as well, let's just say, and I have, for me to be able to sort of stand up and squat so that I don't take all the bumps was much harder. It was an interesting day of riding. Probably my least favourite day of riding that I've ever done, but it was okay in the end. We got there. I did need to stop each way through. I stopped at least once to sort of give my brain a bit of a rest though. That being said, on the way back down to Melba's, so when I was heading down to Melba's on that final time back down through there, after that bit of road, there was just an amazingly perfectly smooth bit of road. It looked like they'd just finished doing it. And so my guess is probably by now, they must have been working their way up the road, fixing bits of it. That terrible bit of the road is probably now perfect and would probably be just amazing to ride on. I just probably picked the wrong time. Anyway, that's the way it goes in the Philippines. Not everything is perfect, but a lot of it is. Right, so then I arrived at Melba's. I think it's actually called Melba's Homestay or Melba's Homestyle or something like that. Anyway, I arrived there and it's good. It's pretty big. It's mostly like a restaurant, I think. So there's kind of like a restaurant area which is right on the water. It looks out over, there's like a seat that hangs out over this tree that's hanging out over the water, and in like low tide you can swing on the seat above the water. In high tide the seat's basically on the water. It's beautiful. Some of the tree I think has big branches that runs out over the water, and they've set it up so you can walk out onto it, and they've got a platform with a table out there so you can potentially eat your food out there on top of that, which is pretty cool. I didn't go out there, but it looked nice. I took some photos of it. And the water there is rocky but looks nice. It was a pretty nice area. The room was excellent. Like the bed was super comfortable and big. The air conditioning was freezing cold. The bathroom was seems brand new. It was beautiful. Everything there was good. Everything was really good there, actually. Probably one of my favorite places that I stayed in the whole trip was there. As in like the actual hotel itself, or whatever you want to call it, the little resort maybe? I don't know what you'd call it. Hotel or resort or whatever. You get what I'm saying. The standout part of it, even though you got all that, and the room itself has like a little balcony area at the back which you can walk out to, which is kind of shared with one of the other rooms, but then you've got this little sort of courtyardy area out there as well you can use. I didn't really use it though, but it's there. But the standout for it really is the food. Whilst I was there, there was people that were coming in just to eat there as a restaurant, basically. They weren't staying there, they were just using the place as a restaurant. And I can see why. Like, the food was just excellently good. Local type foods, but just like really good quality, really well made. The tastes and textures, and man, the food there was so good. And the reason the food was so good was one of the night, I think I was only there for one night. So that night when I was there having dinner, I think the owner, I can't remember his name, which is frustrating, but he was a really nice guy. He came and sat with me and had a chat with me whilst I was having dinner, and I think also the next morning as well. He pretty much was telling me about how it became. He had retired there after working overseas for years as like a chef in like big sort of 5-star restaurants and hotel restaurants and things like that. And so he's like a really high-class chef, I believe. And so he's worked overseas for many years and then ended up coming back. I think he even ran some of the hotels or some of the restaurants of the hotels, he was saying. But yeah, so he worked overseas for years, obviously saved up some money from all of that, and then ended up coming back home and setting up Melba's, which is cool. Like I said, great place to stay. The accommodation itself is really nice, but the food was so good. Everything I ate there was just, wow, that was so good. And the reason is because it's all been put together by like a 5-star chef who runs and owns the place. So definitely worth going there. If you get a chance and you're down the southern end of Cebu, I'd go there. The food is not as cheap as what you would normally get, obviously, at a Carinderia or something like that. It's just not, because it's not. But it's going to be better than anything else you get down there. I think it's definitely worth trying. If you've got want to go try something nice and something different, that's where I'd be going. All right, so we made it to the bottom of Cebu now. It's probably far enough for this video. We'll go back up the west coast on the next video and see where we end up there. A bit like the way that I plan my holidays out, the way that I've been planning out these videos, in that I'm just going to do them until I get about 10 minutes worth and then we'll move on to the next video. So yeah, that's it. I hope you're liking the way that it goes. Eventually I'm going to get to my current trip, which I've just come back from, which is going to have a little bit more video footage and stuff in it, I believe, but we'll see. Maybe we'll stick with this format where I kind of just narrate over the top of things, because I don't think I did a very good job of doing vlogging as such at the time, but we'll see how we go. Cool, yeah. Hey, if you can, I'm going to ask each time. I feel embarrassed about it each time, but still, like, subscribe, do all those things if you want. If you don't, that's fine too. But it'd be cool if you did. Any comments as well? If you've been to any of these places, or you've been to anywhere basically around Cebu Island that you thought was cool and you wanted to talk about, I'd love to hear it. Especially places I've already been to, because I'd like to talk about them more as well. I'm happy to chat about them. So yeah, any comments, let me know. Any thumbs up, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, if you want, have a good day. I'll catch you next video. Bye.